Hi, I'm Gordon with the Environmental Health and Safety Training Institute, and I'm excited that you're here with me today. Now, with you joining me here tells me you are committed to your personal safety and the safety and well-being of others. So when it comes to heat-related illness, many people are exposed to heat on the job, outdoors or indoor environments. Now, operations involving high air temperatures, radiant heat sources, high humidity, physical contact with hot objects and strenuous activities all produce the potential for heat-related illness. Now, workplaces that have these conditions you might find in steel foundries, rubber factories, utilities, especially in boiler rooms, commercial kitchens, laundries, chemical plants, and then outdoor operations conducted in weather that's hot in direct sun, farm work, construction work, asbestos removal, landscaping, emergency response, and even hazardous waste site activities. Now, each year, thousands of workers become sick from occupational heat exposure. Some even die. These illnesses and deaths are preventable. When a person works in a hot environment, the body must get rid of the excess heat to maintain a stable internal temperature. It mainly does this through circulating the blood through the skin and through sweating. When the air temperature is close to or warmer than normal body temperature, cooling off the body becomes more difficult. Blood circulated to the skin that cannot lose its heat. Sweating then becomes the main way that the body cools off. But sweating is effective only if the humidity level is low enough to allow for evaporation and if the fluids and salts that are lost are adequately replaced into the body. Now, if the body cannot get rid of excess heat, it will store it. When this happens, the body's core temperature rises and the heart rate increases. Now, as the body continues to store heat, the person begins to lose concentration, has a difficulty focusing on a task, may become irritable, sick, maybe even losing the desire to drink. The next stage is most often fainting or even death if that person is not cooled down. Now, excessive exposure to heat can cause a range of heat-related illnesses, from heat rash, heat cramps, heat exhaustion to heat stroke. Now, heat stroke can result in death and requires immediate medical attention. Exposure to heat can also increase the risk of injuries because of sweaty palms or fogged up safety glasses or dizziness. Workers exposed to hot indoor environments or hot and humid conditions outdoors are at risk of heat-related illness, especially those who are doing heavy work tasks or using bulky or non-breathable protective clothing and equipment. Some workers might be at greater risk than others if they have not built up a tolerance to hot conditions or if they have certain health conditions. Workers who are suddenly exposed in working to hot environments face generally I guess this is take 6, which will start right after personal protective clothing and equipment. Some workers might be at greater risk than others if they've not built up a tolerance to hot conditions or if they have certain health conditions. Workers who are suddenly exposed to working in a hot environment, they face additional but generally avoidable hazards when it comes to their safety and the health. New workers and those returning from time away are especially vulnerable. Now, that's why it is important to prepare for the heat, educate the workers about the dangers of that heat, and to acclimatize the workers by gradually increasing the workload or the time that is spent during breaks, and to help those new workers and those returning to a job after time away build up a tolerance for the hot conditions. Now, heat-related illness, it can be prevented. Important ways to reduce heat exposure and the risk of heat-related illness include engineering controls such as air conditioning or ventilation, and that might make the work environment cooler. and maybe work practices such as work and rest cycles, drinking plenty of water often, and providing an opportunity for workers to build up a level of tolerance to the working conditions and the heat. Employers should include these prevention steps in work site training and plans. Also, it's important to know and to look out for the symptoms of heat-related illness in yourself and others during the hot work. Plan for an emergency and know what to do. Acting quickly can save lives. Heat stroke, the most serious form of heat-related illness, happens when the body becomes unable to regulate its core temperature. Sweating stops and the body can no longer rid itself of excess heat. Now, signs include confusion, loss of consciousness, and seizures. Heat stroke's a medical emergency. You need to call 911 immediately. Now, while you're waiting for help, place the worker in a shady, cool area, loosen the clothing, remove the outer layer of clothing, fan air on the worker, and apply ice packs and cool water into the neck and armpits and the groin area. You can provide fluids to this person, but only if they are fully conscious, and stay with that worker until help arrives. Heat exhaustion is the body's response to the loss of water and salt from sweating. Signs include headache, nausea, dizziness, weakness, irritability, thirst, and heavy sweating. Have that worker sit or lie down in a cool, shady area. Give the worker plenty of water to drink, non-alcohol, non-caffeinated beverages. Cool the worker with compressed ice packs and cold water, and take them to an emergency medical clinic if the signs and symptoms worsen or don't improve within about an hour. Now, heat cramps are caused by the loss of body salts and fluid during sweating. Low salt levels in the muscles cause painful cramps. Tired muscles, those used for performing the work. And these are usually the ones that are affected by the cramps. The cramps may occur during or after working hours. That worker should again rest in a cool, shady area, drink plenty of cool water, and wait a few hours before allowing that worker to return back to any strenuous work. And have that worker seek medical attention if the cramps don't go away. And heat rash, also known as prickly heat, is a skin irritation caused by sweat that does not evaporate from the skin. And heat rash is the most common problem in a hot work environment. So try to work in a cooler, less humid environment when possible, and keep the affected area dry. Now, working outdoors, especially in hot and humid weather, being in the sun and doing physical hard work is something that we have to take very seriously. The best way to protect ourselves is to prevent heat exhaustion by drinking plenty of water, taking breaks, and resting to cool off. Heat illness can affect all of us, but some people are at a greater risk. Now, what do you think would put a person at a greater risk? Well, not being used to the heat, working in the heat, that's a big problem. And most of the people who died from heat stroke in the past few years were in their first few days on the job or were working during a heat wave. If you haven't worked in hot weather for a week or more, your body needs time to adjust. You need to take more breaks and do not do too much strenuous work during your first few weeks on the job. Now, some health conditions can put you at a greater risk of heat illness as well. And these include diabetes, kidney and heart problems, pregnancy, and being overweight. If you have these, it would be a good idea to talk to your doctor about the work that you can do and ask whether there's any special precautions you need to take. You must be very careful when you aren't used to working in the heat or doing heavy work, or if you are new to working outdoors, or if you're not physically fit, or if you're overweight, or if you drink alcohol or take drugs, prescription medications possibly, or if you wear heavy, dark, or tight clothing or use personal protective equipment, or if you had some early heat-related symptoms the day before. While heat illnesses are very dangerous, it's also very preventable. And there are 3 simple words to remember: water, rest, and shade. Heat illness can be prevented. We drink water often, even if you aren't really thirsty, rest in the shade, and report any heat-related symptoms early. Know what to do in an emergency. It is recommended that each person drink water often, but it's better to drink water in small amounts frequently as opposed to larger amounts less often. Drink even if you don't feel thirsty. Avoid drinks like sodas or coffee that have caffeine or alcoholic drinks. These drinks actually dehydrate you and can make it more dangerous to work in the heat. Also avoid sugary drinks. Now, people worry that if they drink a lot of water, they have to go to the bathroom more often. Well, in fact, you'll mostly sweat it out. When you're not at work, still drink plenty of water to help your body recover from the workday. During a heat wave, it is recommended to take more frequent breaks. Pair off and watch your coworker for signs of heat exhaustion. And remind your buddy to drink water or to take a break. Talk to your buddy during the work shift to make sure everything's okay. Sometimes people with heat exhaustion, well, they get disoriented and they think they're okay. If you suspect a problem, keep checking on your coworker or tell a supervisor. Sometimes people say they are more protected by dark-colored, heavier clothing. Well, this is only going to make you hotter. Wear light-colored, lightweight cotton clothing. There are also ways to prevent heat-related illness that have to do with how the work is done. Scheduling the work to be done, do the more strenuous tasks during the cooler times of the day, or maybe start work earlier and end earlier, and add more scheduled breaks. Now, OSHA and NIOSH have created a heat safety tool app, and it helps evaluate real-time heat index, risk levels, and protective measures. Now, when doing an evaluation, your heat index less than 91 degrees Fahrenheit is a lower risk level, and you should follow basic heat safety and planning. Now, a heat index of 91 to 103 Fahrenheit is a moderate risk level, and you should implement precautions and a heightened awareness to the heat stress. Now, 103 degrees to 115 is a high risk level. You need to take additional precautions to protect workers. And then a heat index greater than 115 degrees Fahrenheit, this is very high to extreme risk level, and this triggers even more aggressive protective measures. Now, you can find this app by clicking the link in the description below this video, and you now have knowledge to keep yourself and others around you working more consciously and in a safer manner. Now, do you want even more safety knowledge? Well, of course you do. Just visit us at ehsti.com, and thank you for being a part of our safety family. And if this was a help to you, then please hit like.